Hello, everybody. So, excuse the start of this podcast. First of all, welcome to episode 4 of the Do It Anyway podcast. My producer cued me to come on and I wasn't ready. So that's what happened. And we're going to keep this, we're going to just roll with it. So, with that, welcome. Welcome to episode 4 of the Do It Anyway podcast, where we discuss all things health, wellness, fitness, nutrition, and everything in between. I'm your host, Maria Redman, and I want to thank you for joining me on this podcast today. Today, I want to get into it and just talk really about something very important to a lot of people and it seems to keep everyone stuck is why am I not losing any weight? And so that's going to be our topic for today. And I want to go over quite a few things on why you might not be losing weight if you're one of those people who feel like, oh my gosh, I've been sticking to a nutrition plan. I'm hitting the gym, I'm doing the cardio, and the scale is just stuck. So, what's going on there? Like, what's really happening? Well, there are some things that are happening, so let's get into it. Number one, I know you say you're following your meal plan, but are you really? All right. So, like, I have clients all the time that I write their meal plans out for. I'm very specific. And I can tell when they send me their check in by the end of the week that guess what? They didn't follow it to a T. Maybe they 80%ed it, right? I can tell when they didn't measure their food. They've clearly overeaten. I can tell when I say go ahead and have a meal off plan, which is typically called the cheat meal, that they went like balls to the wall with it. Like they went ham. So let's get into the overeating aspect. It takes 3,500 calories to lose a pound. You need to burn 3,500 calories to lose just 1 pound. If on your cheat day, which it should never be a day, it should be a meal. If you are having, let's just say, 4, 5 slices of pizza or wings and fries, you've just erased all your whole week's worth of work, right? Like it's gone, it's finished, you can't recoup it. And this is why you wake up the next day, the scale is up from water retention, you've had a lot of sodium. You didn't actually gain fat, but you definitely put on some water weight. But this is something that's keeping you from, getting that scale to budge week after week. You keep doing this. So, here's key tip number 1. When you start your meal plan, you need to measure your food. Like if you really want results, there's no way around it. I know it's cumbersome, it's tedious, no one wants to do it, but it's a must. You need to know what you're putting in. You need to know how many calories are actually going in so that you can really figure out, are you creating a deficit enough for you to even lose any weight? So measure your food. Weigh out your proteins, weigh out your carbs, your fats. Let me back up really quickly. This is not going to be for someone who I talked about in my first episode who's just kind of getting going. If you're just getting going, remember, we're just putting healthy, foods on our plate and we're eating and we're just going from there. But if you're now into the weeds of saying, okay, I want to start really honing in on these results, measuring and weighing out your food is going to be the only way to do it. Now, I've been doing this now for over a decade and a half. And I can tell you there have been times where I've said, I've been doing it long enough, I can eyeball it. Yeah, and I'll eyeball it. My body will look pretty decent. But if I'm being honest, I notice that there are times when I look at myself and I'm like, yeah, I don't look like I should. And the reason is, I'm eating maybe too much extra nuts or nut butters. I'm not measuring it. So I really don't know how much extra calories I'm getting in there. I love to eat protein sources. So, I could easily be eating 8 to 9 ounces of steak instead of a 5 to 6 ounce piece of steak. That's a lot of extra calories there. So it just goes to show, even if you've been doing it for years, if you really want to get those true results, you need to start with measuring the food. So that's tip number 1 and one main reason why you're not losing weight. Now let's get back to the cheat meal. It should be, I hate to say the word cheat. It's like we're having an affair with food. I mean, and last time I checked, no one's having an affair. Or maybe you are. I don't know. If you are, you need a whole different set of help. But cheat meals, I don't like to use. I like to say I'm having a meal off plan. I try to make this meal very strategic. It's typically something that I give to a client after I know they've had a great, a good stellar week of results, and they've also worked out that day. So I kind of prime the body to go ahead and have this meal. I may cut back on some of the calories from another meal prior to it so that they can consume it. That meal should be something that, yes, you enjoy, but you don't want to go ham on it. Like, you don't want to have a cheeseburger, french fries, milkshake, chocolate bar, ice cream. That's just way too much. I mean, that what that's really saying is you don't really have a handle on having a better relationship with food yet. That's what that really shows. An off-plan meal should be something like going to a restaurant. I always say, go with your family or your friends out to eat at a nice restaurant. Have a nice steak or a nice piece of fish that maybe has a sauce on it. Still have your vegetables and a carbohydrate source, and maybe a small piece of dessert, right? Depends on where our goals are and what we're really trying to do is where I'll say what you should have in terms of that piece of dessert or the meal. But make it strategic. Don't just go crazy and start hitting up convenience stores along the way. Now, I say that because yours truly, when I first got started in this bodybuilding space, um, my coach would say on a Sunday, it's he would say cheat day. And literally, a friend of mine, Laura, her and I would just go to all these gas stations and the convenience stores looking for all these different snacks. And we would just, I cannot tell you how many hot dogs I've eaten in my life. It's ridiculous. And we would do it till we were sick at the end of the day. The dumbest thing ever, because I would literally be like 10 pounds up the next day from eating all of this garbage. I felt sick, lethargic, and literally I would have to bust my butt all week long just to get right back to square. So I'm telling you from experience, don't do it. Don't do it, please. So that takes care of the cheat meals. We're going to stop using cheat meals and we're going to call them a meal off plan. Make them strategic, be smart about it. And instead of worshiping the food like I talked about in a previous episode, let's worship being with our family and friends and having a good time and having that connection, because that's really what we're out for anyway, right? That's what we're supposed to be out for. So let's do that. Another reason why you might not be losing, any weight if you're sticking to your meal plan is your food placement. So what do I mean by this? Everyone's body is so intrinsically different, right? So your metabolisms, it's said that, when you wake up in the morning, your metabolism's at its highest. That might not be true for everyone. Take someone who works second or third shift, their body's circadian rhythms often, it's going to kind of work a little bit in reverse. So maybe for you, having heavy carbohydrates higher in the day might not be good. For some, if you start your day off and your metabolism works better higher in the day, having carbohydrates right before bed might not be a good idea for you. So food placement really does matter when it comes to your fats and carbs and where you have them. I say if you're a little confused and you don't quite know, well, how do I figure it out? Start with taking the carbohydrates from your dinner meal and placing them higher in the day when you're up and about and moving around, burning it off so that you're not just going to bed on carbohydrates. So start there, run that protocol for a couple of weeks and see. Take pictures, take your weight, also take measurements, because the scale is not the best indicator. Those pictures and those measurements will be the best indicator for you. So do that and then see what happens at the end of 2 to 3 weeks. And then you'll know, okay, I do better when I don't have carbohydrates at night. And so then you can strategically set up your meal plan that way. That's going to work better for you. Um, and maybe too, your macros might not be correct, right? So maybe you're not, the placement might be fine, but maybe you're having too many carbohydrates. Maybe having 300 grams and your body can't process that much. Your activity level doesn't allow you to metabolize that much carbohydrates. So also figuring out exactly how much of those carbohydrates and fats to have, that might be critical for you to figure out too. So I always tell everyone to start with the ratio of 40, 30, 30. 40% of your calories from protein, 30% from fats and 30% from carbohydrates, and then just manipulate it slightly from there. Again, manipulate the carbohydrates a little bit for a couple weeks, leave it there, see what happens. If you get a good result, then okay? But if you don't, maybe decrease one more time by a little bit, hold it there for another couple weeks, see the result, and then make a decision off that. It might be that you need to adjust your fats down a little bit. So it's a real give and take on figuring out the macros, but I can assure you that's probably another reason why a lot of you are not losing any weight from week to week. The biggest thing, though, that is often overlooked, and I can't wait to do another episode on really getting into the weeds on this, is your gut health. If you are suffering with leaky gut and your gut microbiome is off kiltered, you're not going to lose weight, period, point blank. I mean, it's your gut health is really, really that critical to allowing you to lose weight. So how do you figure out if you have leaky gut? Well, things like excessive bloating, um, always feeling kind of nauseous when you eat certain foods, sometimes not feeling hungry at all, not being able to go to the bathroom really well. These are all signs of having poor gut health. Even feeling very sluggish. Sometimes you just, you had a great night's sleep, so to speak, in terms of hours, but you just feel foggy and not so good. These are all different signs of leaky gut and poor gut health, and there's a slew of other things that I want to get into those. But your gut health is extremely important. So taking a probiotic to help balance that out to get the bacteria where they should be is going to be critical for you. But if you're not listening to what's going on in your gut, I can assure you 100% weight loss is never going to happen. And this is a really big factor for us ladies. We do so much to our bodies, and our bodies go through so much that it's much easier for women to actually get poor, the bacteria imbalance with our microbiome than it is for men. And things also that play into that are, taking birth control, taking not probiotics, but antibiotics. Antibiotics will throw your gut microbiome off by a lot. And if you're a person that's had a lot of it, I can assure you that that's going to be one of your issues going into it. So taking care of your gut health, take a probiotic to heal up the gut. Also taking a supplement called glutamine. It's sold all, over the place, over the counter. Very, very good. It's an amino acid. It helps seal the lining of your gut. So that is a supplement that you should critically add into your repertoire. It's critical that you put it in, and that's going to help heal up the gut lining, and your gut health will, get better. And the probiotic will help put that good bacteria back in the gut to get things going again. So gut health is something that you're going to want to address. On the flip side of what's happening to the body, another thing that I think people kind of misjudge all the time is how hard do you really train and how much activity do you really do? Um, it is always so funny to me how people say that, oh, I was so busy today. And when I really ask them what they did, they were seated in a chair all day. They weren't moving. They were busy with their phone and their laptop and maybe writing, but they didn't move from the seat. So that's being sedentary. So don't confuse being busy with actual activity. Those two things are not the same. Activity is you are up, you are moving, you are going, you're at the gym, you're, working out 45 minutes to an hour and a half, depending on what your, experience level is, or you're going for, walks to accumulate 10,000 steps. That's activity. And I think a lot of you just misconstrue how active you really are. If you're sedentary, you're not burning any calories when you're sitting, right? So everything that you're putting in, you're not creating any deficit with any movement. It's just food that you're eating. It's going in, and if you exceeded your caloric intake, it's going to store as fat. Period, point blank. No matter how, healthy the food is, it's just going to store. So don't overestimate your activity level. Now, We have these amazing tools, all of these lovely smartwatches that are out. I know the Apple Watch is really popular, and I'm sorry, Apple, I'm gonna hate on you guys right now for like a good minute. Those watches have a lot of you guys thinking that you are really like going balls to the wall, and you are not. First of all, I've figured out that with some of the versions of the Apple Watch, you can sit in your chair and just as your legs are moving, it'll calculate it as steps. You didn't step anywhere, you were in your seat. So that's number one. Number two, when you go to do a workout and you get it set on your strength training and it's calculating the calories, I cannot tell you how many times I look at my clients' watches and it says we're like 30 minutes in and it says they've burnt like 600 calories and they're not even sweating. So I'm like, oh my gosh, this watch is going to set these people up for failure. It gives you delusional visions of grandeur. The watch is not accurate. There's the micro sensors on the back that are supposed to help you calculate your heart rate. They are not very good. They're not, I mean, even in my Garmin, I have a top of the line Garmin on, and it's still, I would never rely on those sensors on the back for my heart rate. They're just not accurate. If you want to know how much calories you are burning when you're working out, you need to wear a heart rate chest strap. I wear them every day. That is how I understand really the true data on what I'm doing in a workout, how much calories that I'm truly burning, how many steps. Now, the steps are going to be pretty accurate for the better watches. The Apple Watch, again, some of them not so much, but that you can almost rely on, I would say about 80-85%. But when it gets into your workouts, if you're just relying on the watch alone, it's not accurate at all. And that brings me to the cardio machines that you're on. The calorie burn on those are so inaccurate, it's not even funny. First of all, it has no idea how much you weigh, and you can plug that in, but those sensors that you grab for your heart rate on them, they're horribly, inaccurate as well. Most of you get on them, you don't even put your weight in, you just kind of start the machine anyway. So don't rely on your watch and your machine for the calories burned. If you really want to know what that is, you need to get a heart rate monitor that is a chest strap. That is going to be your best bet of doing it. Now, I'll say this. I don't want you going out and buying chest straps, because this thing can get pretty costly. That's if you like really want to nerd out on the numbers and find out. Stay consistent though. If you need to do a workout and it's 45 minutes or an hour, make sure when you're in that workout time frame, you're working out. You're not doing a set and then you're on Instagram for, 10 minutes scrolling in between sets. That's a really long rest period. At that point, you're like restarting the workout over again, right? So stick to your rest periods. Stay off your phone. Stay off of your phone because that is the biggest workout killer of all. The phone. Set your music up, put your phone in your bag or in your pocket, and just get to the workout. When you're finished with that workout, if you've got cardio to do afterwards, make sure that you're not just on the treadmill doing a walk that is like a leisure stroll so you can, again, scroll on your phone so it's not bobbly. Crank it up a little bit. You want to start having a good sweat and getting some movement there. So when you're in your workout, focus, get it in, work hard so you can get out of there, right? And now you can assure yourself that you've gotten in the proper activity. So don't overestimate your activity levels. Another thing that'll kill your weight loss is if you do not sleep. This one is critical. And for me, it's like a little bit of a double-edged sword because for those of you who know me really well, you all know that I don't sleep very much. I'm about a 5-hour max, 5.5 some days. It's a good day if I get 5.5 of sleep every day. And I do a lot of activity, so theoretically I should have more sleep for recovery. However, I I have really good sleep hygiene. So when I'm asleep, I'm asleep. I have great REM and deep sleep. So I recover well because I'm getting quality sleep. For most of you, though, you're not getting good quality sleep. Some of you are also getting not very many hours, and those hours that you do get are horrible. Why is that happening, right? Before I go an hour before bed, I'm not on any of my devices because those hinder you from falling asleep. I tend to read before I go to bed so that I can kind of just get myself in a state of restfulness. I also take a magnesium supplement. So I want to suggest that you do that if you have trouble sleeping so that you can get into some better, good quality sleep. If you really have a hard time, getting into sleep, maybe taking some melatonin along with magnesium, that'll help you get a restful night's sleep. But honestly, I'm a firm believer that the reason why people are having poor sleep quality year after year now more prevalent is because of our phones. I mean, we take it to bed with us and literally we scroll on it, right before we close our eyes. All that blue light really does affect you. There's plenty studies on it. And, depending on what you're watching too, right? You're hitting up the brain with all this dopamine and it's not in a restful state. So this is another reason why you're not getting to sleep. And if you don't sleep, you do not recover and you do not, lose weight. You do not build muscle. Your sleep is where actually all the magic happens, all of it. It is your true battery recharge for the next day. It's what happens, it works on your metabolism, glucose control, brain impulses, muscle building, fat burning. All of this stuff happens when you're sleeping, not when you're at the gym. It's when you're sleeping. So I would beg to say that this is the one most important thing that we all need to make sure that we're getting, especially as we age, because, just for your brain health alone, um, is going to be important. So sleep, sleep, sleep. If you're not losing weight, you're struggling and we're talking about all these boxes you need to check. Let's say you've checked all these boxes. Your macros are great. Your activity levels are great. Your gut health is good and something's just not budging. Let's address our sleep, right? Let's see what's happening with our sleep and what's going on there, because that could be definitely a factor that is holding you up. If you are a person that needs to have some type of white noise, I will say that there was a time where I had to have my device. I used to sleep with my headsets on when I was married. My husband had to have white noise all the time, and I think I got addicted to having to have something on. But I changed from, I used to listen to music. I changed to listening to more meditative things and, nature sounds, ocean sounds, things like that. So if you're a person that just needs to have something on, get something, play something like that, but put your phone away from you. Turn it over so that the light from it is not bothering you and you just legitimately have the sound. Or you can go and purchase a sound machine. My grandkids have an amazing sound machine that, man, every time I walk in there, I'm like, I just want to go to bed. This is a cozy place. The lights are off. It's nice. It always smells good in there. So create your sleep zone and make it nice. If you need the white noise, find it. Or, like I said, ocean sounds, earth sounds, whatever you need, and use that so that you can start getting to some sleep so you can get some results. That's going to be critical for you to kind of get into place. And lastly, the next thing that I would say maybe is like my number 2 on the list of why you're not losing weight: hydration. I cannot tell you how most of us are walking around dehydrated. Like, I see a lot of people. This one gets me. I see so many people come to the gym with their gallon of water that's like still full. I train at night, people. I train at 9 o'clock to midnight, and the gallon jug has maybe like this much water gone from it. What's going on here? Like, are you going to drink the water or not? Like, you've got to hydrate. Your brain is 70% made up of water. Your body is also 80% made up of water. It is the one thing aside from food that you need to have. Actually, it's the thing. Like you can't live past 3 days without water. You can live for a couple weeks without food, but water, 3 days, you're out of here. So, hydration. If you're not hydrated, so many things are not happening. Food's not shuttled through the system, so the nutrients that you're putting in from the healthy food, that's not getting absorbed. Um, your brain is definitely not working as well as it should be, so it can't send out the proper messages for the body to do all the different things that it needs to do. So you're cutting your computer is shutting down, so to speak, or working really slowly. So you definitely have to hydrate. And I notice as soon as I get someone fully hydrated, the body starts moving like clockwork. But you can't just drink one day and then stop and drink one day and then stop. And I know, ladies, I already know, but I have to get up in the middle of the night to pee. I get it. But would you rather have to get up in the night to go pee or still be stuck with the same fat? You choose. It's for you to pick. I don't care which one you pick, but think about it that way. Or better yet, would you like to be 70 years old and still have all your mental faculties versus maybe not having all your mental faculties because you don't hydrate and you also don't sleep? So these are things to kind of think about that are bigger than just weight loss, right? Like this is the stuff that we need to sustain our life. So don't make excuses on why you don't want to go drink water because you have to pee. Or the next one is, I don't like the way water tastes. I don't think it has a taste, but I get it. But however, there's so many things on the market now to add to your water at this point. I mean, heck, there's flavored waters at this point that you can drink all day long that are, you've got the sparkling to the flat kind, flavors galore. You've got Crystal Light and any off brand that you can put in there, the squeezable Mios. There's just a ton that you can do with it. And if you're a person that maybe doesn't want to go the artificial flavored realm, you can, do strawberry water, lemon water, cucumber water. It takes nothing for you to make these things at home. Um, I have made strawberry and blueberry water and I cheat. I did not buy the fresh fruit because I didn't feel like having to rinse it and cut it. True story. So I just bought frozen and used a frozen one, and the water was all the same and just fine. So that's another option that you can go to. But whatever you choose, the bottom line here is you are going to have to hydrate. It's just critical that you hydrate. So don't miss that. That is another reason why you're not losing weight. So let's recap a little bit because I know I gave you a lot of information here. Overeating is going to be the thing. Even if it's healthy food, if you're exceeding your caloric intake and there's no deficit, you're going to gain weight. Stop having cheat days. There's no such thing as a cheat day. Well, there is a such thing as a cheat day. I've lived it. But don't keep doing that. Have a meal off plan, and let's change our verbiage to that. Stop calling it cheating. That gives it a bad connotation in your head. It gives it a negative. And honestly, after you have said cheat meal, you tend to feel like you've messed up the whole week, and then it kind of continues to spiral out of control from there, is what I found. But if you just have a meal off plan that's sensible and good and you enjoyed it and you spent time with your family and friends or a significant other, I see people have that meal, respect that they had it, and move back onto their plan with no issues at all. So let's think about that. That'll help you not overeat. Activity level. Don't overestimate your activity. Be realistic and really think about how active you really are. Do not confuse busyness with activity. They're not the same. Especially if you're a person who thinks also that busy is, oh, I got in my car and I drove to said office, and then from the office I had to drive over to like the Staples, and I got that's you're in the car, you're still sitting down, you're not really being active. I just want you to know that. So understand your true activity level and be honest about what that is. Next, measure your food. If you don't know how many calories are going in, how are you going to know how much deficit that you need to create? So get an idea of what you're taking in on a daily basis so you can understand how much you need to cut to create that deficit so that you can lose weight. Um, Tend to your gut health. Take a probiotic. Take some glutamine, depending on how bad your gut is, 5 to 10 grams of that a day, a scoop. You can get flavored or unflavored. It mixes in water or anything really very easily, but tend to your gut health. That is the brain of your body. There's so much. You can go into the weeds on the microbiome, and I wish this was something that they taught us about years and years ago. It's just kind of becoming a thing to be discussed now, but it's critical. I mean, it's so critical to so many parts of your body in so many ways. So make sure you're taking care of your gut health. That's going to be essential to helping you budge that scale. And then you've got to remember the biggest thing, number one, is sleep. Sleep is where the magic happens. So make sure don't be like me and get 5.5 hours unless you're getting quality sleep. 7.5 to 8 hours, if you can, is going to be good sleep. Also, you can use your tech for this. You can monitor your sleep on your watches. Those actually do a pretty good job of really tracking what's happening with your sleep patterns. That's where I get my data from to see what's going on. Aura rings are really good at tracking your sleep data. They are, to me, like the creme de la creme of tracking your sleep data. So if you want to get an Aura ring, if you have one, utilize it the way it should be utilized. But start really focusing on your sleep hygiene. Make it an oasis. I think we don't do enough for ourselves. We don't really take care of ourselves I think we should. When I really start thinking about it, like we want everything else, the fancy house, the cars, the clothes, but we won't take care of the thing that's supposed to be in these items very well, which is odd to me. So like we have these really nice houses and cars and we're overweight and unhealthy. When are you going to get to really enjoy the nice car or the nice house or your clothing for that matter, right? Like I remember when I was heavier, when you're bigger, our clothes cost more. It costs more for big girl, big guy clothing. I mean, I know I had to buy it. So already we're spending more money for things that we kind of look cute in. I mean, really, but we don't really look that good in some of the things if we're being honest. I mean, there's certain things that are made that we're just like, yeah, this looks cute on the rack, but really doesn't look that great on me. So, I mean, why are we not taking time to take care of ourselves? The very thing that goes into all of these fancy items that we want. It's just it boggles the mind on why we're like that. So I would urge you to start taking better care of yourself. Make your sleep a priority. That is where our bodies recharge. Period, point blank. There is no tomorrow if there's no great sleep. Your tomorrow can be completely ruined by a poor night's sleep. We've all been there. So set the sanctuary up, If you're a candle person, light some candles, dim the lights, read a nice book, buy a sound machine if you need to, but for heaven's sakes, stop scrolling on our phones, right? Like, think about what we're taking as our last thoughts into our subconscious to bed with us. Depending on what type of content you consume, this can be really bad for some of us. And I'm going to speak from experience, right? So I wasn't scrolling, but remember I told you I would go to bed with my headsets on. A lot of times in the beginning, it wasn't music. This used to freak my husband out because I was always listening to murder mysteries. Like crime TV is like my thing. Like I'm all about who murdered somebody for some life insurance money. All of them are the same story. I'm not sure why I keep watching this stuff, but literally I would be going to sleep off of gory death and trying to like I would dream about this stuff, waking up the next day, literally telling my ex, like, oh man, let me tell you what I dreamt about. It's like, that story was crazy. But it was because I was taking pour, A&E to bed with my head with all the murders. I mean, every serial murder thing you name it, I've watched it. I'm true crime all the way, but it's not appropriate to take with you to bed. Let me tell you, it's not healthy. So, putting more positive things, if you're a person that's spiritual or religious, maybe, spending more time with God and doing that, right? Like putting that positivity in our head instead of just saying the little quick morning prayer like Lord bless my day, or whatever your religious thing is. But we don't put a lot of time into that either, but we'll spend hours scrolling. So do that at night so that you can get into a better sleep position and have a true restful sleep. I don't sleep long, but I do have, like I said, great quality sleep. And I'll be honest with you, I am in a very rested state, and I love that I have good sleep hygiene, but I really do set the tone for my bedtime, and I stick to it strictly because I know that if I can make my sleep so good that my next day is going to be even more productive. And so that's like a big thing I truly understand the importance of it, and I really want you all to understand the importance of it as well. So make sure you're getting that sleep in, set the tone, set the mood. And last but not least, make sure that you're hydrating, right? Stop with the excuses of I have to pee at night. People pee. That's what our bodies do. We go and pee. And actually, that's good. That means that your body's ridding certain amount of toxins, right? You know that you typically, pass fat through your urine. So use that as your motivation. Every time you pee, say, I'm passing fat. Getting that fat right on out of here, pissing it out. So think about it that way. Whatever you need to use to get you to drink more water, just make sure you're doing that. Get your hydration in. So that's what I have for you guys today on why you're not losing weight. Make sure you're implementing all of these steps. And I assure you that if you start checking all of these boxes, that you're going to get that weight to budge. Now, let me say this. If you're a female, you've checked these boxes and the weight still didn't budge, then we need to discuss something that's completely different from this, and that's called hormones. And I will definitely address that in another episode because it is a very real thing, and it does trump calories in, calories out. I know that everyone says, oh, you'll hear a lot of people say, oh, it's only calories in, calories out. Yes, to a certain extent. But when you're a female and you get to a certain age, that equation no longer truly exists. There's other caveats that are at play with that. So we'll get into talking about that. But with that, thank you for joining me on this episode of Why You're Not Losing Weight. I look forward to talking to you and seeing you all again for my next episode. Remember to like and subscribe and listen to the podcast on Spotify, YouTube, and Apple. And I'll see you soon. Peace.